In the last episode of The Power of Two, we got to see a whole episode based on the Exitors who we haven't seen in around 4 years. And it seems we're going to break out of Two's kitchen anytime soon, and that's probably going to end up as a rejoin. And who out of the characters in the exit do I think are going to rejoin? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be going over who I think is most and least likely to rejoin. And we don't know how these characters are going to rejoin. It could be a challenge, it could be a vote, but I'm assuming vote, but I'm taking everything into consideration and seeing who I think is most and least likely to join.
I don't have a favorite number, I really don't.
So in 10th place for rejoining, I have 8-Ball. 8-Ball really didn't help this episode, and he never had a huge fan base to begin with, so if it were voting, I don't think he will get anywhere close to coming back, and also in a challenge, I just don't see why T-Pot would bring him back. There's nothing he could really add to the story, and he's not a really unique or diverse character. The only storyline I could see with 8-Ball is maybe something to do with Golf Ball, but again, that's very unlikely because Golf Ball already has other things going on in the story right now, and there's no need to add more to Golf Ball. And also, he already can't really compete in challenges that well because he doesn't have any limbs. So that's why I have 8-Ball at 10.
I love games!
Number 9, I do have Bracelety, and I do think Bracelety had a lot to do in this episode, and I think Bracelety had a huge impact, but again, I just don't see a world where Bracelety comes close to getting voted back into the game. Because Bracelety before this episode was one of the most hated characters in the BFDI universe just because people thought Bracelety was super annoying and they didn't really get the comedic value that Bracelety was supposed to bring to the show. But I could see them wanting to bring back Bracelety because Bracelety was a huge part of this episode, probably had like some of the most screen time out of all the characters. And she did help a lot distract 4 and help Pencil, and I mean she did do really good this episode, but again it would just be super hard to write Bracelety back into the story, and I guess Ice Cube doesn't really have that much going on in the story, so maybe they could build on that. But again, I feel like it's pretty hard to write a connection between Bracelety and Ice Cube that's like genuine. However, I do think Bracelety could definitely win the comeback challenge, and she showed a lot of her strength this episode, especially fighting 4 and keeping him down, and maybe she does return, and maybe I'm underestimating the fan base Bracelety has, and this episode could have definitely brought Bracelety a lot more fans, but I just think other characters have more fans, and it's just hard for me to see a world where Jack and Jellyfy would want to bring Bracelety back, and it'd be super hard to write her back into the show.
Who cares about Team Ice Cube anyway? You guys are all pieces of garbage!
In 8th place, I have Fiery Jr., and Fiery Jr. could definitely win the comeback challenge. I think Fiery Jr. is probably in like the top 3 most likely to win the comeback challenge if it were to happen. Fiery Jr. didn't really get that much screen time in BFB and really didn't get to show off his true character, and I feel like T-Pot would be a good place for him to build his character because Fiery isn't there and he won't just be looked at as a like cut copy of Fiery. And also his rivalry with 4 could definitely be an interesting topic in the show because they've shown that in episode 11 and 4 is still there and he's going to be still in the T-Pot universe, and that could definitely like be something cool to look out for. The same problem with Bracelety is the same problem for Fiery Jr. is they were 2 of the most hated characters in BFDI history, so it's going to be hard for him to build a fan base. But the reason why I have Fiery Jr.'s spot higher than Bracelety is because I think the writers do want Fiery Jr. to come back out of most of the characters. I mean, I think they'd rather have Fiery Jr. and then other characters that have already had a lot of spotlight in different seasons or characters that there just isn't that much to build off of. Because I do think Fiery Jr. has a ton of room of writing with.
Let's play Spongy Cake.
In 7th place, I have Match, and she would be higher, but I mean, this episode didn't really do her any favors, and I feel like it helped a lot of characters out, and I feel like it didn't really for Match. It feels like Stapy and Lai got more character development, and I feel like that's kind of inevitable just because Match has been in 2 seasons and we didn't really get to see too much of Lai and Stapy, but Match was also kind of still being her rude self and just kind of being like ignorant and not trying to do as much, like trying to sleep and take a break, which I know doesn't seem like that significant, but with these voters, they remember that sort of petty little stuff, and that's going to make them like them less and less and less, and when other characters are doing more helpful things, they're going to remember that and then remember Match wasn't doing a lot of things. And if the writers were to want to bring back another character, I doubt it'd be a season 1 OG who also played in BFDIA. And she kind of has no character relationships going into T-Pot anyway, so I don't think the writers would really want to bring Match back, and I don't think the voters would really want to bring Match back either. But again, Match still probably has a huge fan base, and that's definitely going to boost her votes up a lot if there were a vote to join.
Oh, seriously?
In 6th place, I have David, and David did do a lot this episode, but I feel like memorability-wise, it won't be remembered as some of the other characters. And I feel like in his group, he might have been overshadowed by Bracelety and Pencil, but I mean, David still does have a pretty big fan base, and a lot of people really like David. They really like the joke characters, and David is a very strong contestant. David did fight off 4, and in the beginning of the episode, probably was the main contributor. He was doing awesome in the beginning of the episode and in the end of the episode. I think the writers would want David back into T-Pot because I feel like they did give him a huge role. It's just I don't think the fans would really want David back in because there's not really much to build on David's character, and I know I've been saying that a lot about this video, but I mean, it's true. David doesn't really have too many character dynamics, and I feel like he would just get voted out like the next time he goes to elimination. Because there's already so much plot and stuff in Teapot right now, and obviously David's like one of these joke characters that doesn't really contribute like too much story, so I just don't think anything he can do can really build into Teapot. In 5th place, I have Robody, and the reason why I have Robody above David, and I feel like it's like the exact same reasons as David, but Robody was the one that saved them from the exit. And I feel like when it comes to the voting, all of the fans are going to remember that Robody's plunger, because that's just like so weird and random that it's so memorable, and I feel like the fans are obviously just going to want to root for Robody after saving the whole exit. And that's kind of like what happened when Flower won BFB. I mean, Flower mainly won because she saved BFDI, but Robody basically had a non-existent fan base before this episode. I mean, when the BFB rejoin came, he got the least amount of votes for a reason. Not that many people liked him, and I feel like there's other fan bases that are so stronger than Robody's that are in the exit. And I feel like other characters also got a lot of more development this episode that could also intrigue more voters. Do a lot of people like Robody more after that episode? 100%, but is it going to entice them to vote for him over other characters? I mean, it's really, I guess we're going to have to see. I mean, it's a toss-up. I definitely think Robody has a good chance to rejoin, but I also think there's a good chance he doesn't. Now, those 6 were pretty safe to say not going to rejoin the game, but these final 4, I feel like are guaranteed loss. I think it's going to be one of these 4 if there is a rejoin, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a rejoin. These are the 4 that are going to come back.
Hey, did you say eat the dirt?
And in 4th place, I have Stapy, and I think Stapy is one of the 2 characters I think that the writers really want to bring back. I think they wanted to give him a redemption arc this episode, and I feel like a redemption arc for Stapy in Teapot is something that could add so much more to Teapot. Because Stapy was a really liked character in the beginning of BFB. I mean, Stapy, Marker, and Foldy were all super liked, and that one episode basically killed off Stapy and Foldy's character. I mean, they were all on track to do pretty good in BFB, and now Foldy and Stapy are 2 of the most forgotten about characters ever, and everyone just hated Stapy after one episode, and I feel like Teapot is the perfect opportunity for Stapy to redeem himself. And also that gives another plot point for Marker, and I think also BFB wants to build on Marker's character too, just because he's such a marketable character and he's one of the most popular because of the Roblox game, and I feel like adding more to Marker's character and keeping him in the game longer, Stapy is gonna enable that. But when it comes to a voting, I don't know how well Stapy is going to perform. I think Stapy did get a lot more fans this episode, being a huge part of the episode, but I do think characters did more than Stapy did to gain more voters, and other characters again had more fans before this than Stapy. I think Stapy got done horribly wrong by the writers in BFB, and I feel like him coming back in Teapot is the perfect opportunity to redeem himself as a character, and there's a lot to work with Stapy because he's also such a strong competitor as well. But before we get to the top 3, put your list rankings in the comments below, and I'm going to be looking at all the comments. We can all rate each other's list and give each other feedback on why we think other characters are going to do well and why other characters aren't going to do well. And number 3, I have Dora, and I know earlier talking about David and Robody, I was talking about how they wouldn't want to bring back joke characters, but honestly, I don't even think Dora's a joke character anymore. Dora is easily the strongest character in the show, and there's so much more to build off Dora. Dora got done so dirty in BFDIA, getting no screen time at all, and then in BFB got voted out for basically no reason. I think Dora could be a super interesting add back to Teapot, because there's really no more joke characters in Teapot, and Dora could like definitely add an element to that, and because she is so strong in the challenges, it could be like a Teardrop 2.0. And it's clear as day the writers love and adore Dora. They talk about it all the time in like the behind the scenes stuff, and Dora is like a super interesting and cool character. I mean, there's like so many more things you can explore with Dora's character, and there just hasn't been an opportunity to, because of people keep voting her out for no reason. Like, there's no reason for Dora to ever be voted out. I think Dora can definitely become close to coming back in a vote, and I think if it's a challenge, I'm pretty confident Dora would win.
Everyone, let's smash!
In my number 2 spot, I have Lai. I think Lai has built a huge fan base ever since her elimination, and I know in the rejoin, Lai didn't get too many votes, but I feel like her fan base keeps growing and growing and growing, and especially after this episode, a lot more people like Lai. I also think Lai's personality is so much more unique than any other BFDI characters. Like, I feel like she's just such a different character, and I feel like her interactions with Death Pact, if she does return, would be so interesting and so funny. And I know I said Stapy and Dora are probably the two main characters the writers want to bring back, but I also think Lai is definitely up there with who they want to bring back. Her getting eliminated in BFB 5 did not do her character any justice. I think she was probably one of the best characters that came from BFB besides like Lollipop and maybe Tree. I feel like Lying now could perform like how Lollipop did in BFB Post Split now that it's vote to save.
Open mouth, yeah, let him out, yeah.
Lai does have a big fan base, but not as big as our number one, and that is Pencil. I think if there is a vote to come in, I think Pencil is probably easily going to win. She almost came back in BFB after being so hated, and now back in BFDI where she's loved again. I just don't see a chance on how Pencil doesn't return on a vote to save. Pencil also did so much this episode, making a huge impact on the exit and being one of the main reasons they got out and being a huge vocal point this episode and getting a ton of screen time. I just do not see a world where Pencil does not get less votes than any other contestant, to be honest. The only valid reason I could see Pencil not coming back in is just because she's already in BFDIA right now. People might not want to vote for her just because she's competing in a different season right now, and people want to see more of characters like Lai, Stapier, Dora, but I just think voters are going to want to see Pencil because voters love Pencil and they just want to see as much Pencil as they can, and because BFDI is vote to eliminate, Pencil is more at risk to get votes. And I don't know how much the writers don't want Pencil to come back just because there's not too many dynamics between Pencil and any of the characters in Teapot, but I mean it's pretty obvious the fans want Pencil to come back, and more likely than not I do think it's going to be a vote to return, and Pencil's probably going to win by a landslide.